Hi boys and girls from all over the world, this is Mike with MontanaTroutFishing.blogspot.com. Today I'm going to do my first fly tying tutorial. I haven't done any fly tying tutorials at all to this day, so I thought I'd start one with a video. Unfortunately, the camera that I'm using is a GoPro Hero 3 and it doesn't quite have that macro lens. I can't get a close focus. So the only flies that I'm going to be doing right now are your bigger flies, the girdle bug, woolly bugger, streamers, stuff like that. So bear with me here, and I hope that maybe I can get somebody into tying their own flies, as it's very fun, and I'm about to show you how easy it is. Okay, so this is what we're tying today. This is the woolly bugger, probably one of the top 10 flies used across the world. It represents all kinds of things from a stonefly, nymph, to a minnow or a sculpin. It can be dead drifted, it can be stripped and retrieved, it can be slow retrieved. All kinds of stuff. It's a very unique fly. It's very universal, and a lot of people tie them with different things, like the bead head, with or without weight, different colors. It's a pretty universal fly. So I'm going to start by putting some lead on my hook, and the hook that I'm using today is an Umpqua U203 size 6 hook. It's curved and straight at the eye. Pretty good hook. It gives the woolly bugger a good size. Plenty of lead on there to keep it down, and I like to add lead to all my things because you don't have to add as much split shot. I believe getting the fly down to the fish as soon as possible is very important. Okay, so get the hook on our vise here, which, like I said in one of my recent articles, this is a $50 fly kit, or fly tying kit, excuse me. Comes with a lot of great stuff. I recommend it. If you don't know if you want to get into the hobby or not, pick up a kit, and if you don't like it, give it to somebody, or maybe next year you'll pick it up. Right now in Montana, it's getting towards winter time, and this is what I'm going to be spending a lot of my time doing. So anyway, here we go. This is about 6 inches of lead. I just probably too much, but I like to get the right amount, so I will just start by wrapping it on the hook. And like I said, you don't need to weight these. I like the lead because it gives it a lot of body already, and it's nicer to have the lead on there. It can get out a little bit further, to say, and it has a lot better action in the water. The second it hits the water, it's going right down to the bottom. So that's about as much as I need on there. I like to leave a lot of room here up to the eye to give me plenty of room for materials and plenty of room for my whip finish at the end. I like to use my scissors to get that wrapped around there pretty good. Working with this lead's very nice. It comes in all different diameters. And we'll push it together pretty tight. Okay, now the next thing to do is to tie this in. Right now I'm using 6/0 uni thread in black. It's not too light, and it's heavy enough to give me what I need for a bigger fly like this. So I'm going to start by doing my tie-in wrap, and once that's secured, I'm going to, instead of trimming the tag end here, I'm going to lay that across and do some long wraps so that gives me something to build up this thread off of. You really don't need to tie this in as much as I do. I just like to give it some grip for the material to hang on to. The lead is kind of smooth, and that marabou can turn on you, so I like to get up some good wraps. I still have the tag in my hand until I get down to the back. Once I get down to the back, I like to build up a little bit to really lock that lead in and make sure that it's not going to go anywhere forward or backwards. Cut off the tag end. And I'm going to keep on doing a few more passes, like I said, just to build up that thread base, to give that material plenty of stuff to grip on. I'm not sure if you can see it on your end, but on my end I can see it's building up nicely. On this area here, it's almost covering the lead up, so I'm going to be done there. And I always like to end or to stop for now on this last little rib of the lead. It's time now to add the marabou tail, and I bought one of these. These are very cheap, $3 or $4. You get tons and tons of feathers here, enough to do 100 woolly buggers or more even. They're great for streamers and all that stuff. So once you get your marabou how much you want, I like to, since I'm using a 6, I'll use a fair amount. Kind of find out which way it fans out, just so I have a better looking fly in the end. Once this gets wet, it really doesn't matter. So that's about what I'm going to go with. And then now it's just placement. How far back do you want it hanging off the hook shaft? The further back is going to give you a longer woolly bugger, but it could also produce some false strikes or some strikes that the fish just grabs the marabou. So keep that in mind and give yourself plenty of room to tie that in on the shank of the hook here. Okay, once I find my desired length, I'm just going to do a couple of pinch wraps and get that down on there. Now the next wraps are going to secure it. And I'm going to go forward a little bit and give me some extra root of that marabou to go up a little bit and give me plenty of, to make sure that's locked in. You will be catching a lot of fish on these, and it can tear them up quite a bit, so if you don't give yourself enough marabou that's tied in, it will come out on you. Okay, so I did maybe 1/4 of an inch, a little less than that. Cut off the bulk of it. Don't have to be too close. This will tie down pretty well. This will go right down and give it some extra tie-in. And we always want to go back to the marabou now. Okay, now the next step, I'm going to tie in the chenille. Once again, like the lead, about 6 inches or so of the chenille. And to tie this in, just take your fingers and gently remove a little bit of that material. Maybe a 1/2 inch is good. Maybe a little more, it doesn't matter. And that's about what we want right there. And that gives us something to tie the thread onto to the hook. It holds it down without bulking up too much right off the bat. Okay. So once I get this secured, I'm going to draw it up a little bit so I get that strength of the chenille on there. I want it fairly tight. I don't want it coming undone on the river. And then retying always takes the time, especially when the trout are biting. Okay. And then once again, bring the thread back to the start of the marabou. Okay. Now once you've got that, it's time to start wrapping. Try and get as close to that marabou as you can to don't leave a gap so you can see the lead or anything. And fairly tightly, just spiral that bad boy up. Right up to the eye there. Don't go over the eye, but right there is good. And I like to use my hackle pliers just to put some weight on there while I wrap this, and keeps it kind of tight. So I'm going to wrap up to the eye now, and just a few wraps, nothing tight, just to secure that chenille to the hook. Okay. Doesn't take a whole lot for that part. Now, cut off your excess chenille. And what we've got going on now looks kind of like a woolly bugger, but we're missing something. We're missing the hackle part. The hackle gives it some more, I don't know what you want to call it, but underwater with the current, it'll move these feathers, give it a lifelike look to maybe a perch sculpin, or the flimsy legs of a stonefly nymph underwater. So this is the hackle that I'm going to be using, and a lot of it's got the down or like the marabou type feathers on it. We're going to get rid of that altogether. Okay. now you're left with this. And if you notice, one end it gets smaller, the hackle gets smaller, and then towards the end of where I just clipped from, the feathers are quite long, and that's too long for the size of the hook that I'm using right now. So the feathers that I really want are down here. So I'm going to pluck these gently, and that's going to give me a base to tie this onto the hook with. I can secure it with that right there. Now if I need to cut off more because it's too long, I'm definitely going to do that. I don't want a super big woolly bugger. I want it to all be pretty uniformed. Maybe a little longer in the front's okay, but I think that'll work right there. So once I've got that, I'm just going to tie this in right up front on the eye, and I'm going to do a good couple wraps to get that started. We're going to be securing this later, so it's okay that it moves right now in between there. That's okay. So I'll take my hackle pliers now. One of my favorite parts of doing these, I think it's just the coolest thing to wrap this hackle on any fly. And I'm going to start wrapping diagonally down the body. Now, the tighter your wraps, the tighter your material is going to be. I don't like to do it all that tight. It's just kind of my preference. I like to do some longer wraps, a little bit wider between each one. And I'm going to go all the way to the end of the chenille body. Just going to let my hackle pliers lay right there. Now I can get rid of most of this stem of the feathers, whatever you want to call it. We'll trim it up later. And I'm going to carefully wrap the thread back down over the hackle. It's definitely possible to not mess the hackle up as you go. It's pretty hard to mess it up. And just do broad or longer wraps here. We're not doing nothing tight. We're not doing crazy wraps. Just enough to get you back down to the end and the start of the marabou. You just want to get down to the end and tie in the last part of your hackle there. Okay, a couple wraps and we're good. Okay, that should be good right there. So I'm going to remove my pliers, and now I need to get the thread back up to the eye of the hook to do my whip finish, and we'll be done. So I'm going to do the same thing, not overly aggressive, but just kind of find that groove that does not disturb the hackle. You don't want to push those down at all, because it looks so pretty. And right up to the front there. And you'll notice when you're wrapping that the hackle kind of stays out of the way. It really goes around and pushes itself back up. Okay, so once you're at the eye, it's time to do the whip finish. And that's why I like to give myself plenty of room on the eye so that I can do this 4 or 5 times even. I think they say 3 is good enough, but I always like to do 4 or 5. And that'll be good right there. Now I should probably be ready to roll out and go right into the fly box from here, but we all like to take a little bit of pride in our flies and make them look like store quality, so it's good to just trim up, get that hackle stem out of the way that we first had, all the way out of the way. Cut any feathers that are going the wrong direction, you know, forward, whatever. Keep that eye clean, and we are good to go. So, got one more little pesky guy right here. Get rid of that. And there we go. That's the woolly bugger. Like I said, one of the most popular flies, and tying your own, it's just that much cooler. So thanks for watching this tutorial. Thank you, Russia and Latvia. You're my second and third most viewed countries. So keep on watching, guys, and you come over to Southwest Montana, maybe we'll bump into each other. But that's the Woolly Bugger. Stay tuned and take care, guys. May your lions be tight.